So this evening is in praise of older women. Oh, any women over 55 in here?
We all know about the invisibility of women as we get older. I was on a bus and somebody said to me, "Didn't you used to be Carol Grimes?" And I went, well, I think I still am.
Before Older Women Rock, I did, massive amount of reading, family history. Basically, I was having a very quiet life, but then I sort of came out of all of that.
I have a memory.
If I want to be a sweet, demure old lady, fantastic. But if I want to be a rock goddess, I want to be able to do that without being laughed at.
Certainly in the African tradition, you venerate your elders. And I know so many older women who are doing just amazing, wonderful, extraordinary things, but not necessarily related to the newer generation of younger women. This culture is so disjointed when it comes to age.
I've never been sort of, you're an older woman, you can't do this, because I always think if you want to do it, you just do it. And I'm glad because I've never done this before, interviewing. I've never done modelling before. I've never done a flashmob before.
The assumption that when you pass 50, then 60 and 70, you give up and you watch daytime telly, bollocks.
I'm Leah Thorne, and I'm a spoken word poet. I came to poetry really late in life. I came to it when I was 40. A friend of mine was a performance poet, and I went to see her, and I just thought I would love to do that, to be able to just stand up, say what you think, what you feel. It's one way that I feel that I want to make a difference in the world.
I think it's just a natural progression. I feel that Older Women Rock is the first time I've really just put the full focus on being in my mid-60s and wanting to unite with other older women.
I was just curious, things that I was experiencing, feeling like I was losing value and certainly becoming a little invisible to other people.
I just started to lose sight of the fact that I was vibrant and that I had something to say. And I suppose around that time, older women were being bumped off television programs, like they were there one day and the next day they were just replaced. And there was something about, okay, now you are past your use-by date.
For me, I needed to stop and really take a look at what's amazing about being an older woman and what's really hard.
I just really wanted to grab that opportunity and to meet other older women and just say, so what's it like for you to be able to explore the bigger political issues? It's not that older women have sexism much worse than any other women. It's just I'm really interested in looking at what it means for us, how it comes at us, and how it comes at us as the many different kind of older women that we are. I encouraged the women to write poetry, and I was writing my own poetry at the same time, really with an eye to all the different issues that come up when you think about the crossover of age oppression and the oppression of women.
I am an old age, all age woman, no way past my use-by date. Walking in ancestral women's footsteps, I am an archive on legs.
Older Women Rock started to come into being. I wanted to think about how to publish. I'm really, really good at finding bargains in charity shops. And so I decided that I would get a whole load of retro clothes and then I'd find women artists to put the poetry on the clothes. You speak of me in metaphors of catastrophe. Soon I will be an age quake, a great tsunami. My age is your nightmare, a numerical fanfare to fan your fear.
Some of my own family question why I still keep taking on work, and I think that will never stop. I think I'll probably die in the studio or in the middle of a field somewhere. I don't do sketches. I will cover the table in possibilities. So that's what I did with the jacket. I was surrounded by things that might go on it.
We worked together quite a lot on about 5 pieces probably, and she actually helped me make things which I wouldn't have thought was possible. I felt like my father, the tailor, would be looking down going, "You're doing that?" Because I never sewed because my dad sewed everything. And then there were times when I had an idea, like, I wrote the poem about grey hair and how hard it is sometimes just to let your hair be grey. And I had this idea of a skirt made of grey hair, and I just wanted to give it to her. And she said, "No, we're going to do it together." To die or not to die, chemical follicle free or monthly touch-up tyranny, ash, slate, metallic, white, or hair senocide.
In the 1950s, 7% of women with grey hair coloured it.
Now, 75% of the women with grey hair colour it, but not me.
What would stop me going grey? Actually, I want to go grey. What's stopping me is the transition. I'm going to embrace it.
Are you?
Yes, definitely. I'll go shorter and greyer and funkier.
I stopped colouring my hair because the colour grey that I have was more beautiful than any natural colour I'd previously had. It's kind of like a fantastic status symbol, that says, "I've won! I've got here."
I just did not want grey hair. And now I can't wait for it to go completely grey.
I wear it as a kind of badge of pride. So Older Women Rock gave a voice to people who don't normally get a voice. Not just older women, but older women doing a craft to prove that actually it's art.
I found this amazing collection of older women visual artists. Working with Claire, she was very different. It was so much about styling.
Basically, I was a fashion designer. I seem to have gone off in different directions from that.
I found this fantastic leather jacket, and as soon as she saw it, she started to see how it could fit in with this idea of older women not being in the media.
I'm a writer and a filmmaker myself, and I had an idea that I wasn't being represented and the work I was making wasn't being seen. And I just thought, well, I'm not standing for this, I'm going to do something about it.
Only men grow old on screen. Women disappear from film and TV by 45. Hit dread and disgust in early middle age, and suddenly we're no longer fit for public display.
82% of media presentation is done by men over 50. In Hollywood films, the older women get, the less dialogue they are given.
Women over 65 get just 3% of all the dialogue spoken by women.
It's shocking. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked by what you've just said.
We're the mythic witch, the mad one, the crone, the bitch. We're the cougar, the Medusa, the battle axe, the wizened seducer, the old deer, the old bag, the tragic victim, the hag.
Only men grow old on screen. I just thought that was such a potent sentence. I'm not a poem fan, I'm not a women's libber, but what Leah brought, I think, was a kind of wit and humour, and she identifies those areas in our life that are ignored. I think it opens up a window, if you like, into people like female prisoners, which you would never get access to.
Women over 50 are the fastest growing age group going into prison.
They say things like,
I never felt old till I came to prison.
Prison ages you.
There's no proper nutrition,
no fresh air, no medication to help me as I age.
These are the people that really don't have a voice, and to put it out there, I think that's important because those voices can be lost. The first piece we did was the handbag. We identified a few things that were kind of symbolic to do with memory and loss and love.
I came across the amazingly named Profanity Embroidery Group.
She wanted a very particular thing done. She just wanted a very short poem on a handkerchief. I immediately thought that Bridget would be the one most likely to do what she was asked to do. Most of us tend to sort of go off on our own bents with things. I'm one of the co-founders of the Profanity Embroidery Group. That came about through my sharing on Facebook a lovely little drawing of this elderly woman doing this lovely embroidery, but it says, "Fuck the world." And it said Mrs. Winchester had found a positive outlet for her negative energy. And it got such a huge response that at the end of it, we'd ended up with this club that we were going to have to do.
I hesitated for some time because I was so involved in using power tools, making my own work, and then I just thought, oh well, I like the sound of going to the pub every 2 weeks.
People look at us and they say, oh, look at those sweet old women. And then when they come up and read the work, which has got words like fuck and cunting.
I like taking what is always thought of as a very traditional art form and just subverting it, really. We all went to Bridget's one Sunday afternoon and Leah came along and she brought some of the pieces of clothing along and some of the poems. So we all had a bit of a fight over who got what.
Initially, the excitement was just vintage clothes. And so when I saw her words, I just thought that was so wonderful.
I'm rather embarrassed to say I got a bit tearful and emotional. And it was the resonance of the things that we keep secret, what time does to us. Ageing brings some fragility to us, and Leah's work was acknowledging those things.
Retaliate, fight age hate. It's a diabolical conspiracy for women to age agelessly, line, scar, blemish, crease free.
And I think then from there Leah sort of saw that this mad bunch of creative embroiderers could really go further with interpreting her poems.
And this came out of discussions I had with many women of my age about sexuality, about our sexuality, how we feel about our bodies, and how we feel about the sexualization of younger women.
They surprised me. I had no idea, say, what Bridget was going to do with the incontinence poem.
No public embarrassment, no sexual activity, too busy squeezing numerically. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, squeeze, squeeze.
When we talked to Leah initially, she was talking about a limited colour palette and, quite a subtle application of her words to the garments. And there's just no way that we could stick to that. And I was especially guilty of it. I felt that the subject matter demanded that it wasn't hidden.
We don't talk about it. I see magazines that will advertise you buying some product, but I actually want to know what the mechanics of what's happening to my body. Like lessons in ageing.
It happens to so many people. Why should it be hidden by a subtle palette of colours? And I couldn't help myself.
It was really interesting as well. We all seemed to take ones that spoke to us. I took the poem about whiskers, and that made me laugh quite a lot.
I think it's the naughty girl in me that went for the corset. It was black with dangly things. It's about these two worlds of being a woman. The fact that life makes us saggy and droopy and we wear stuff to make us look perfect, to not show our shame.
There was one woman, Deborah, who really challenged me. So a couple of the pieces weren't really poetry, they were just lines that women had said. So the women carers had said amazing things like, "My world has become very small." I found this fluffy, woolly coat that reminded me a bit of a sort of a soft toy or something. I just thought it was going to be this soft, gentle experience. After a while, Deborah phoned me up and said, "I've got this idea, I want to know what you think of it, because I don't want to do it if you don't like it, but I'd like to turn the carer's coat into a straitjacket."
I didn't want to offend anybody, but the words just spoke so strongly of isolation and being shut in.
I just kept thinking, why are you scared of this? You know, because what she's actually saying is really powerful.
Then she said, well, I'll think about it, and she thought about it overnight, and she came back to me and she said, yeah, actually do it.
It's one of the few participatory pieces in the collection, so often I would invite people who came in to actually undo the buckles. So the words really come across even more, and there's this real tenderness and pain and disappointment and love inside the coat, but you really have to look to find it.
It is quite an emotional piece in a way that I was quite surprised by. And she did say to me that she'd shown it to some people who were carers, and they kind of immediately got it.
Older women often find themselves being sandwich carers,
looking after both older and younger generations at the same time.
It takes your whole life over, you know. Not that I begrudge that, I didn't. But you do it because you love them.
Over 2/3 of pensioners living in poverty are women.
Women are likely to have had breaks in employment.
Often because of caring responsibilities.
And this impacts on their state pension benefits.
My life changed when I realised that I could do my political action by looking at older women, our bodies, what we wear, what we have worn.
Dull, drab, self-effacing, don't notice me kinds of dress, and how that conveys meanings and messages about status and value, the status of value of being an older woman.
If you no longer are seen to have a job or a purpose, if you're not seen to be productive, you're not seen to be important. So you have to sort of understand it in terms of a for-profit society and how it really takes away your individuality, takes away, you know, what your real value is as a human being.
I got very depressed after I retired, I've got to be honest. I had eye problems, so I had to give up work. The worst thing was losing most of my sight. That knocked my confidence a lot. If you stay in and don't do very much, you get more and more depressed. If you meet people that encourage you to get out and about and do things, it just changes you so much, and you realise that there's still loads to do.
Women especially, they lose their husbands and then they're on their own a lot of the time. And I think that loneliness is something which is difficult for women. But I find it very hard to make friends, very, very hard.
So some of the women who came to Older Women Rock were getting or are isolated in a particular way. So it seems great in this age group to start bringing us together. I started to ask women if they'd like to be models, and to my great amazement, a lot of women said they would.
She sent me an email and I said, I have never ever seen the words joy and sachet in the same sentence.
I actually felt really nervous once I'd actually walked out in the dress. But the response from people was just really rewarding. Everybody seemed to really get what Leah had done.
Everybody was encouraging each other because it takes a lot of guts, you know. And I saw this jacket there, which I really liked with the tassels on. Quite rude it was, about gas and things.
There was one woman who really moved me because she'd had her whole life feeling that she couldn't show her body, and she could finally have the space to do that for herself.
Desire to peel away the well-constructed corset of grey invisibility, of shame and guilt, of being older, an older woman.
It probably said more than any number of articles about the usual representation of older women and what older women do on their own terms. For me, what was as important as the arts and the action was the politicisation and the reclaiming our minds around these issues. I think anybody who saw the pop-up exhibition would say that there was no way that it was heavy, but it was highly political because it was bringing up issues around sexism, age oppression. It was about invisibility, it was about the beauty industry and how you're expected to look. And there was such a buzz sometimes in the shop where women who didn't know each other at all would just start talking.
And women come in and we have the most profound
talks, that something about these clothes and just the permission to share things that we don't normally share as older women.
The energy was fantastic. Leah put together something and it was phenomenal. On a smaller level, I've made so many friends and contacts. A lot of people have been affected by it. It really reached out to people.
Leah's poetry talked about this older woman, but in a new way. She brought to my attention that there are issues, very real issues, that the older women have. And older women rock express some of those personal, intimate problems that women have, which, you know, I find embarrassing to talk about. Made me smile, made me squirm, made me think and think a bit harder.
For me, what I would hope would touch something in people is that awareness that we perhaps share a hidden embarrassment. And the sadness isn't in the growing old. It's the shame, the hiding everything. It's a closet that we're in. Being something that you don't want to say. There are some aspects of getting older that the media, that men, that ourselves keep secret, and it would be nice if we could, on some level, say we're okay.
There's nothing wrong with me that has to be fixed. Not the size of my thighs, not the wrinkling of my skin, not the swelling of my belly, the panache of my moustache, not the depth of my scars. Self-love.
I think it's also not just a fear of looking older, it's a fear that people won't understand the wisdom that comes with age or the experience that comes with age.
I think what's important is that women over 50 feel that they have some relevance in the world and that they can continue to create and they can continue to have a voice. And then they're not just on the scrap heap. I remember turning 50 and thinking, oh, I've just suddenly become invisible. You just sort of fade out, really. And it's not fair because, as we've seen in this festival, there's so much talent out there. And women of our age really have got something to say, something interesting to say.
So it was about raising visibility, which I think we really did. I wanted to subvert society's ideas about who we are, to celebrate older women, to celebrate our resilience, to acknowledge what we've brought and contributed to society and what we continue to contribute.
I want to be a wild woman.
At 92, Harriet Thompson completed a rock and roll marathon. At 95, Nola Oakes got her degree. Margaret Ringenberg flew around the world at the age of 72. And here am I reading my poetry for the first time to you.
I feel by making our mark in the world, it's a real blow for sexism, because sexism tells you that you've got to keep quiet, you mustn't have a mind, and as you get older, they expect you to be even quieter and have even less of a mind. And every time we sing, every time we write something, every time we move, I think it's revolutionary. So I wanted to really cheer us on.
I haven't done my hobbies for a while now. I haven't done any family research and I haven't done much reading, but I've been very happy doing all the things I am doing.
I see them everywhere. Promises they make to me, I'm crying in despair.